The heat rolled off the pavement in long, shimmering waves, casting a mirage across the dusty roads of Ouagadougou. The capital of Burkina Faso throbbed with its usual rhythm, noise, movement, and relentless survival. But inside a plain government vehicle gliding down a sun-baked boulevard, President Ibrahim Traoré sat quietly, returning from a long meeting in the city center. No flashing lights, no motorcade, just one man and his chauffeur. Traoré wasn't like most leaders. He believed that true power should never build walls between a leader and the people. He often traveled without spectacle, moving through the heartbeat of the city like any other citizen. But on this particular afternoon, fate had a different plan. As the car eased to a stop at a crowded intersection, something, or rather someone, caught his eye. A small figure approached the window, tiny hands, fragile steps. A girl no older than 8, in a tattered dress and mismatched sandals. Clutched in her arms was a tray of candies and peanuts, held with the kind of urgency that suggested it contained her entire world. "Please, sir, would you like to buy something?" The words came out softly, almost lost beneath the clamor of honking horns and shouting street vendors. Her voice sounded like it rarely found ears willing to listen. One of the guards stirred, instinctively reaching for the window switch, ready to wave her off. But the president raised his hand. "Let her come." The tinted glass slid down. Not just revealing the face of a president, but the heart of a nation. Traoré met her eyes far too weary for a child. In them he saw something that stopped him cold. Hope, worn thin but still flickering. "How much are the peanuts?" he asked gently. 50 francs, sir," she replied, extending a small packet toward him. He took it and reached into his wallet, handing her a bill worth more than 10 times the amount. Her eyes widened, uncertain whether to smile or cry. But before she could speak, Traoré gave an unexpected order. "Turn into the next street," he said to the driver, "and bring her with us." The security agents hesitated. It wasn't protocol, but they knew better than to challenge that tone. The little girl stood frozen. She glanced at the uniformed men, then at the president. "Don't be afraid," Traoré said, leaning toward her. "I just want to talk." With gentle encouragement, she climbed into the car, her tray still balanced on her lap. She sat cautiously, torn between fear, confusion, and a growing sense of curiosity. Inside, the air was cool and quiet. She stared at the leather seat beneath her, then at her tray, as if unsure whether she was allowed to put it down. "What's your name?" Traoré asked. "Awa," she whispered. "That's a beautiful name. How old are you, Awa?" 8. "Do you sell peanuts every day?" She nodded. "Yes, sir. My mother is sick. I help her." There was no pity in her voice, just a quiet acceptance of her circumstances, spoken like a truth she'd already made peace with. Traoré felt the weight of the moment settle around them. He had read reports, listened to advisors, seen charts about poverty and child labor. But all those numbers faded now. All that remained was this child, trying to hold up her world. "Do you like school?" he asked. Her face lit up, if only for a second. "I did. I liked it a lot, but I can't go anymore. My mom needs help." Silence returned. Then Traoré leaned in and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You deserve to be a child, Awa. To learn, to dream, to play. That is your right. And I promise you, I will help you go back to school." She blinked, unsure. No one had ever promised her something like that before. Not someone like him. "Why would you help me?" she asked. "Because you matter," he said with a warm smile. "And because I believe children like you are the future of Burkina Faso." She didn't say a word, but the way she held back tears said more than words ever could. As the car turned to return her to where she'd been found, Traoré reached into his bag and pulled out 2 simple items, a notebook and a box of colored pencils. "Start writing." "Your dreams, Awa," he said softly. "We're going to make them come true." And just like that, the president, who paused at a red light, had sparked something much greater, a promise that would soon swell into a movement. In a quiet home on the edge of a dusty village, President Traoré sat across from an elderly woman named Fatou. Her voice was thin, raspy from illness, but her words cut deep. My granddaughter, like Awa, she sells food on the streets. My heart breaks every day, she said, pausing to catch her breath. She should be learning, but what choice do we have? That sentence clung to Traoré like a shadow. What choice do we have? In that moment, he realized this wasn't just about school. It was about survival. It was about a broken system failing. Its most vulnerable. He didn't wait. Traoré ordered a nationwide intervention. Swift, sweeping, and human-centered. Food aid was deployed to families in need. Free medical care was extended to sick parents. Education reintegration programs were launched to bring out-of-school children back into classrooms. Families who kept their kids enrolled received monthly stipends. Not large, but enough to ease the impossible choices between feeding a child or educating them. But he knew this couldn't be solved by policy alone. So Traoré reached beyond borders. He called on international partners, NGOs, and foreign allies, not with charts or graphs, but with stories, with real faces, with Awa's voice, and the world listened. Funding arrived. Volunteers stepped forward. Education experts came to help build a system rooted in compassion, not just curriculum. Yet through all the headlines and spreadsheets, one name remained constant: Awa. She wasn't just the beginning. She was the reason. It all mattered. Just days after that life-altering meeting, President Traoré returned to Awa's neighborhood. Not with cameras or press, but with a team of social workers, doctors, and volunteers. In his arms were essentials: food, hygiene, supplies, and a small backpack packed with school materials. This wasn't about charity. It was about keeping a promise. When Awa's mother, still frail from illness, saw the president at her door, she nearly collapsed in disbelief. "Sir, I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice trembling with tears. "You don't need to say anything," Traoré replied gently. "We are here to help. You and Awa deserve a better life." Inside their humble home, Awa sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing quietly in the notebook he had given her just days before. When she looked up and saw him enter, her eyes lit up, not just with surprise, but with something rarer: trust. "I brought you something, Awa," he said, kneeling beside her. He handed her a school uniform and a new backpack filled with notebooks, pens, and colored pencils. "For when you go back to school." She hugged the bag tightly, clutching the uniform like it was a treasure map to a world she thought was closed. To her mother wept, silent but overwhelmed by a hope she hadn't felt in years. Traoré explained that Awa would be among the first children enrolled in a new government program to reintegrate street-working children into school. The plan offered more than education: free daily transportation, hot meals, mental health support, and tutoring for those who had fallen behind. Monthly stipends helped ease the financial pressure that often drove children to the streets in the first place. "You only have one job now?" Traoré said, smiling at Awa. "Study hard, follow your dreams." "I promise," she replied, voice shaking, but this time with strength. Weeks turned into months, and Awa's life began to change. She returned to school, and it was as if the world had been waiting for her. Her curiosity, once buried under hardship, bloomed. She excelled in math. Her artwork stunned teachers. She wasn't just catching up, she was soaring. One teacher even wrote a letter directly to the president. "Awa is an inspiration to us all. She proves that with the right support, no child is ever too far behind to dream again." Traoré received the letter late one evening in his office. He read it once, then again, then sat in silence, gazing out the window as dusk settled over. The capital. "This," he thought, "is why I serve, not for power, but for people, for children like Awa." But he knew the work had just begun. In a televised national address, President Traoré stood tall and spoke from the heart. "Awa's story is not unique. It is the story of thousands of children across our land. My fellow Citizens, no child should sell peanuts beneath a scorching sun when they could be learning beneath a roof. No parent should ever have to choose between medicine and education. The speech lit a fire. Civil society groups mobilized. Youth leaders rallied. Businesses offered scholarships and internships. Community centers launched after-school programs. Schools once forgotten became hubs of hope and learning. And Traoré didn't stop there. He demanded accountability. A new, public website was launched, tracking every franc spent. Independent watchdogs ensured the funds reached real families. The president made unannounced visits to schools, speaking directly with children and teachers, listening, always listening. Then, on a quiet afternoon in the outskirts of Bobo Dioulasso, Traoré visited a rural school. He stepped into a classroom and saw a familiar figure hunched over a notebook sketching a tree. "Awa?" he asked gently. She looked up, smiling brightly. "Yes, Mr. President. I'm learning about ecosystems today." They laughed together. She had grown taller. Her eyes were clearer, brighter, confident. The teacher told him how Awa had become a role model. First to arrive, last to leave, always helping others catch up. Traoré sat beside her desk for a while, simply listening. Then he placed a hand on her shoulder. "Keep going," he said. "You are the future of this nation," As he left the school, stepping back into his car, the sky above painted the horizon in the warm colors of sunset. The road ahead was still long. There would be challenges, resistance, doubts. But so long as children like Awa dared to dream, he knew the fight was worth it. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it. Speak it. Because the more we tell stories like Awa's, the louder those unheard voices become. And maybe, just maybe, we'll build a world where no child's future is determined